Anyway, the cat jumped through the window, and that was that.
Cat in the Hat. Um, Today, what we're going to do is yet another uh, podcast about the attempt on Donald Trump's life.
Okay.
We're not going to sort of get to any conclusions
Mhm.
because each day that passes by, the story changes a little bit, and
Mm,
new information comes in. You know,
yeah.
I received some new information this morning. You know.
Mm,
So the only thing we can do is sort of from all the different places where I've been getting this information is bring it all
yeah.
together, and
Yes.
then so that people who watch this, both of them, you know,
Yeah. I don't know
they'll,
what's true.
they'll, they're at least up to date in what
Yeah.
mainstream is letting on at the moment.
Yes.
So, what do we know so far? Well, the shooter, Mr.
Mm,
Crooks, uh, he apparently he was a loner.
yeah.
Apparently, he was bullied at school,
Hmm.
and apparently, he was a firing range club member,
Okay.
which has changed a little bit because when I first heard this information, I was told that he was kicked out of his school firing
Mm,
club because he was
mm,
such a bad shot, right? But
mm.
there you go. He was a member of the firing club, shooting
Yeah.
club.
Shooting club. Yeah.
He's a 20-year-old residential healthcare worker.
Hmm.
I don't know if he's the only son or the only
Mm.
child of his
Yeah. Well, yeah.
parents. But
Background.
his
Yeah.
parents, his parents are behavioural counsellors, whatever that means.
Mm.
Um, his father said that he didn't notice anything strange happening with his son.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, everything's relative. If his
Yeah.
parents are doolally, then they won't. Right? They won't notice anything strange.
Yeah.
They have to put themselves as the reference point of what
Yes.
is normal and what is not.
Mm.
On the day of the incidents, his parents phoned the police saying that he was missing.
Mm.
Now, this is odd
Yeah.
because the kid's 20 years old.
Yes.
He asked his boss at the care home
Mm.
if he could take some time out because he had some
Mm.
personal things to do.
Yeah.
Right? So, for all intents and purposes, he wasn't missing.
Mm.
He just
Yeah.
said, if his parents had phoned up where his work is and they said, no, he's left, he's had some
Yeah.
personal stuff to do,
Yeah.
they would have said, well, he's got some
Well,
personal stuff to do.
20-year-old lad. Yeah. Yeah. It's.
However, I do know that people, after they crash a car, they will phone up in the UK, this is,
Mm.
they will phone up the police and say somebody's stolen my car.
Mm.
So they can try and get out of the insurance or the blame or
Yeah.
whatever, you know. So, something to just be taken into
Yeah.
consideration.
Yeah. It's a bit.
He bought 50 rounds of ammunition
Mm.
and a 5 foot step ladder, apparently, on the day
Mm.
of the of the happening.
Mm.
He parked his car 1.5 miles away from
Mm.
the place because of
Yeah.
a lot of perimeters to
Yeah.
pass by, and carried his stepladder, rifle to the building, which he climbed up on
Mm.
and set up shop, apparently.
Yeah.
Now, the Secret Service, about an hour before all this kicked off,
Mm.
they had him in they had him in their sights
Mm.
because they considered him a person of interest, if you like,
Mm.
because he tried to go through a metal detector in the first perimeter,
Yeah.
and of course the metal detector went off, and they
Yeah.
wouldn't let him in.
Mm.
so that he had to hang around a bit on the outside, and he
Yeah.
sort of snuck in through a weak point in the perimeter, which allowed him to carry his rifle and his stepladder
Mm.
and what else he had on his person
Yeah.
to the rooftop. Now,
Mm.
the rooftop was on a building that was being used as a holding point
Mm.
by the local police. So the police were inside the building
Mm.
and around the outside of the building. And they use that what's it called, why is it called a holding point? Because if somebody becomes unruly during
Yeah.
the event,
Mm.
they cart them off and they take them to this building and they hold them there
Right, yeah.
until the end of
Yeah. The event or when
the event.
safe to release them. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now the building he climbed up on was
Mm.
not covered by the Secret Service. The lady, Cheetle, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
a look, for all those conspiracy theorists out there, he was called Crooks and she was called Cheetle. So, you know, that's the name
Yeah.
and their names to conjure with.
Yes.
But the rooftop that he climbed on was not covered by the Secret Service
Mm.
because Cheetle, the head of the Secret Service, she deemed it uh, slopey, and
Mm.
it was a danger for the Secret Service to be
So,
up on
yeah.
the roof.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that a couple of roofs further along, the slopes were an awful lot more um, acute,
Yeah.
and the Secret Service were there
Yes.
a little bit further. Okay, and propped up by the building was an 18-foot ladder as well
Mm.
behind some bushes. It wasn't his step ladder that he'd bought, although his step ladder was
Mm.
seen there and photographed there actually by some policemen. But there's an 18-foot ladder behind some bushes, which he
Mm.
used to climb up onto the roof
Mm.
and was seen by. We've all seen those videos where people are
Yeah. Yeah.
pointing out saying, "There, there's
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
He's got a gun."
Yeah. Okay. It's a.
One policeman actually went up to the roof.
Mm.
He didn't climb onto the roof. He just had
Yeah.
his hand on the edge of the roof, lifted himself up,
Yeah.
and saw the guy. And the guy pointed the crooks, pointed his rifle at him,
Yeah.
and then he threw himself back.
Yeah.
And he apparently he fell 8 feet, uh, and I think he shot himself in the foot or something like that.
Mm. Okay.
Right?
I got a band-aid on him. Yeah. A
Yeah.
scratch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and when the police apparently went on they have a blanket radio channel where
Mm.
everybody's
Yeah.
connected
Yeah.
on a certain
Channel. Yeah.
channel,
Yeah.
and the police they got onto this blanket radio channel
Yeah.
and said there's a shooter on the roof.
Yeah.
And then shortly afterwards, the shooting started.
Mm.
Now, the difference in time between the police radioing on
Mm.
the blanket channel about the shooter on the roof and the starting of the shooting, we
Mm.
really don't know. I don't
No.
know. I don't know if it's like a couple of seconds or if it was a minute or two.
Yeah.
But either, right. Um, of course, the shooter fired from 140 yards away.
Mm.
The experts in the shooting world
Mm.
say that 140 yards using a sight is nothing.
Mm.
But of course, they're the experts.
Yeah.
And this lad is 20 years old. So, I need to ask myself, was it, well, I mean, he didn't do a full face Trump shot, you know.
Well, yeah.
Even though they say, Trump, he moved his head and it's through millimeters that
Uh,
he didn't take the back of his head or the glancing back of his head. It
yeah.
wasn't
Well,
a full front. If it was a full front shot,
he'd have hit him. Yeah. Yeah. I
it
know what
would
you're
have hit
saying.
him.
Yeah. I
Right.
know
So
what you're saying.
it
Yeah.
was it was a little bit off with his
Yeah.
shot,
Yeah.
and also the fact that he shot a couple of other people in
Yeah.
the in the place
Yeah.
which were behind Trump or the side of Trump. So
Yeah. It's
And of course, you can hear this on the videos that are
yeah,
out there. He gives off a volley of two or three shots, and then there's
yeah,
about a volley of four or five, and that's when the Secret Service uh, shot
mm,
him. So
yeah,
the Secret Service had him in their
yeah,
sights
yeah,
at the moment. At the moment he fired, they
mm,
must have done because to a longish range shot
mm,
from a standing start, you have to get somebody into your sights and then shoot.
yeah, yeah,
I think they already had him in the sights,
yeah.
and then when he shot, they shot.
It's sort of instantaneous, yeah, because people forget that. Yeah, these bullets don't hang
Right.
around. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, but look, I'll
Oh,
explain what I
okay.
think in a minute.
So
Yeah.
Crook's car,
Mm,
a mile and a half away,
mm.
it was full of explosives
We didn't
in
know
the
that.
boot,
Yeah.
in the boot. Yeah, and he had on his person on the roof a
Yeah.
detonator. Now, according to the FBI, there is no evidence at all of his presence online, not in social media
Mm,
or how to make explosive devices. So one would assume that he managed to make his explosive devices he already knew. I really don't know.
I suppose you can get books from libraries still about it or read up. I don't know. Yeah.
Unless of course his laptop has some
Well, yeah.
information, you know.
Mm,
Two questions were raised. Oh, let me before I go into this part, let me just tell you what um I heard today.
mm,
Is one of his classmates, he was interviewed,
mm,
I think it was yesterday, and he said that Crooks wasn't very much a loner. He was quiet, but he
mm,
wasn't a loner. He said, and when he got on to talk about things that he was interested in, he became very passionate.
mm.
And politics was one of the things that he was very, very uh,
Yeah.
interested in.
Yeah.
And he said that in the 2016, this Crooks, he
Mm.
left school in uh, 2022,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
right? He's almost 20 years old. He would have been almost 20 years
Mm,
old. And this guy says that in the 2016 elections, uh,
mm.
Crooks didn't like any of the politicians. Bit like me, I suppose.
No, I think a
I
bit like
don't respect anybody either.
I think we're probably about 70% of the world at at this particular moment. So yeah,
Right.
that's not. Yeah, I don't think that's.
But the thing is that at that time he would have been 14 years of age.
Mm,
So I asked myself, was I really heavily into politics that much when I was 14? And I don't think I was.
mm,
I was more into music or
yeah,
going out
mm,
having a party,
yeah,
14 years old, go round to your mate's house and all this.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
being heavily into politics, I don't think I ever was. And I don't think I was unique at school.
I think.
Of, you
Yeah,
can have an idea, but to be, which somebody made the comment this morning that when
yeah,
he was brought up during the Obama years,
mm, mm,
right? Because eight years before that, of course, 8 years before he was 14,
mm,
it'd have been like, 6 years old, something
mm.
like that, and 6 or 8 years old, and he, yeah, I think you'd have to look at his parents to find out how he was brought up,
Well,
and
yeah,
we
I
know,
know.
we know, we know that the guy he registered Republican but
Well,
donated to the Democrats, and that's because there is a theory going around that in the state that he's
mm,
from,
mm,
when they had that the primaries with Nikki
yeah,
Haley
yeah,
and Donald Trump, a lot of
mm,
Democrats were registering as Republican
mm.
so they could vote for Nikki
Yeah.
Haley.
I remember that being
Right,
said at the time. Yeah, to be quite honest. Yeah.
right, right. So uh, that's what. They
Mm.
think that's what
Occurred. Yeah.
occurred. Right.
Yeah.
So two questions were raised, which I thought
Mm.
were interesting. Right.
Mm.
One is by a guy called Dan Bongino. He's,
Mm.
he's
Yeah.
he's a famous bloke in the US. He's got a podcast. He used to have a radio
Mm.
program.
Yeah.
And he asked that if the Secret Service knew the shooter was around an hour
Mm.
before or what
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah.
why would they let Trump go on stage until they'd sorted out the threat they thought they had?
Mm.
Right? And they didn't. They let Trump go on stage and give his speech.
Mm.
Right? And there's a guy called Darren Beatty
Yeah.
who has a site called revolver.net.
Mm.
Sorry, revolver.news, which
Yeah.
is an excellent source for all things 6th of January,
Yeah.
you know. He asks how the shooter knew which roof to climb on because he wouldn't know
Mm.
where the Secret Service was.
Mm.
He wouldn't know if the roof he was on was full of Secret Service or not because, was it being covered by Secret Service? Was it being covered by the people below, the police
Mm.
below? It was like, I mean, the place was rife with police,
Yeah.
but he went up onto that particular roof to shoot from.
Yeah.
The roof that was too slopey, apparently, for the Secret Service to be on.
Mm.
All the images I've seen of when he was shot and killed,
Mm.
all the people that were on the roof stood
Yeah.
around the body, 4 or 5 people around
Yeah.
the body. The roof didn't seem all that slopey to me.
Right. Yeah.
But then, I'm only seeing an image on a computer screen,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be classed as a keyboard warrior or a
No.
keyboard detective.
Yeah. Well, this is it.
Uh,
Yeah. Well.
Apparently, the um, the House, the American House,
Mm.
going to start an inquiry on Monday. Something interesting is directly after the shooting,
Mm.
the Secret Service said yes, they will help. They will collaborate in this inquiry. They will appear
Mm.
in front of the representatives, answer any questions that they have.
Yeah.
And yesterday they did a 180 and said they're not going to do anything of the sort. So that's quite interesting as well. You know,
Yeah.
um, I'm not going to point any fingers
No. Well, it's.
because we just don't know enough to come to a sort of conclusion. But
Yeah.
I do think that it would be useful if somebody had a good look at the parents,
Mm.
because the rifle was not Crook's, it was his dad's, and his dad had quite a lot of arms at home, well, a lot of guns at home,
Yeah.
and they also said that he went to practice shooting the day before on the Friday, and you need to ask yourself if that was his regular pattern. If he always went to the shooting range
Mm.
on a Friday,
Well, yeah.
if it was part of a club, normally you
Yeah.
go once a week and it'd be a
Well.
repeated day on the same day.
Yeah. Well.
Did he do anything out of his normal mundane day-to-day pattern of being? You
Mm.
know, was his visit to the gun club on the Friday any different than any other week?
Well, lots of people
Since
go
he's been a
there.
member.
Yeah.
But there you are. There you have it. That's more or less what we know.
Yeah.
And say what you like. Say what you like. It's up to you.
Well.
That's all the information I found.
Yeah. I mean, I'll lead in by saying the unfortunate thing is, well, obviously it's cliche. One person died. We have to remember them, their family. People got injured, and people witnessed a man dying as well. Which, I mean, yeah, when people, so obviously as podcasters respond well, that was my immediate thought when I heard somebody had died. I feel sorry for anyone injured, but people have lost someone. Now, with regards, people said not much blood, not much noise. You and I live in a country where unfortunately there are one or two guns floating about. We've heard guns go off here. They don't make a lot of noise. Yeah, they make a lot of noise. They're right next to you, but yeah, a long range rifle is just going to be like a popcorn, as somebody said. That's all it's ever going to be. It's not Hollywood, and that's what people find. Not much blood on Donald Trump. No, there isn't. If you've ever seen, I mean, a bullet hits a body, it doesn't spurt out. Otherwise, the bodies would be exploding all the time. It seeps out. Yeah, that's the video I've seen of someone. And yeah, I've seen somebody that unfortunately has incurred a couple of shots from the police in the street. Yeah, so I know what happens with that. Again, the big problem I've got is everything is plausible. We live in a world today with so much confusion. Everything is plausible. Is it plausible? There is so much incompetence, stupidity, misunderstanding. Yes, it is possible. Yeah. And the other thing it is possible is any conspiracy theory is plausible. The two combined are a nasty mix. So yeah, I've not really engaged too much online with it. You and I have had a couple of conversations, very light ones, which is unusual for us. But yeah, I think there's two things that come to mind. I mean, okay, we can talk about the hiring policy of agents and everything else. It did look ridiculous when you saw them getting. I've never seen anything. It was, somebody said Keystone Cops. They made the Keystone Cops look very competent, which was laughable. I mean, I don't know how well trained or not these people are. Maybe they're second string because he wasn't considered a big risk. He wasn't the president. Okay, I can imagine having the elites around the president.
Well, yeah. You know, on that aspect, the Secret Service advised the Trump camp that I think it was about a month before that there was a credible threat from Iran of his safety. You know, one of the Secret Service agents, a woman, that lady who had the trouble putting a pistol back in her holster.
Yeah,
because it was somewhere under her belly. Yeah. I remember thinking to myself, she'd make a better wall, and you know, because of her girth.
Yeah, well, that's the idea of it. Actually, these guys, personally, they're meant to throw their bodies in the way of fighting the line of fire. I mean, okay, it's glamorized. A lot of people get the perception from Hollywood. These guys fit, they should be. Maybe she's fit, maybe she's built. I mean, she wasn't the ideal person to have in front of the person anyway.
I don't think she'd pass a physical.
I don't want to speculate.
I'm surprised she managed to get up the steps.
Well, I'm again, you know, it's speculation. I don't want to seem unfair to the poor lady who is probably very proud to be doing her job, and when it actually happened, found out that maybe
I don't know it, so I don't really care.
Yeah. I thought what was even funny was the one who was hiding behind Trump. that was
yeah.
The whole thing was very, very strange. And I'm going to say that. I don't know. There's got to be an inquiry. I think there's I mean, the whole world saw it now. Saw something go seriously wrong. Maybe the blunder, okay, we all know it was a botched attempt. Whoever was behind it, if it was a lone wolf. I didn't know about the explosives. I must admit, now, if you know how explosives are very specialist, most of us could probably pick up a gun and fire it off in different directions, because, you got to learn how to control a gun. That's the main thing. You mustn't grip it. You've got to relax with it. And probably be gun people tell me, I'm overemphasizing it, but that's basically it. And with regards to shooting practice, I used to do archery in the UK. And you do need more than once a week to become proficient at shooting or anything that involves weapon sports. Once a week is not sufficient. Maybe it was his practice. I mean, okay, you got to look for strange patterns. background checks. And we don't know what's going on. Neither should we know, because there could be other people involved, and you're not going to publicise what your line of investigation is onto TV, and I can understand that. That's probably why the Special Secret Service don't really want to get involved in any inquiries, because they might be having to have an internal investigation themselves. I found some of the things that their head said very, very strange in any life. You can't suddenly make excuses, health and safety excuses in this situation. The roof was too slopey. Oh, well, we'll tell the criminals, can they do a risk assessment before they go and do anything particularly bad? Because, it might endanger our officers. That's just ridiculous.
These are the same officers who are going to throw themselves in front of a flying bullet.
They didn't seem capable of doing that, if you don't mind me saying. The whole thing was unfortunate. Again, we put together facts we know. I've kept a very broad band, open mind about it all.
Me too.
Do I find it interesting? Of course I do.
Yeah.
We're all trying to play Sherlock from our armchairs, as it were, piece it together. It would appear that the people on the ground don't even know what they're doing with regards to that. There was a guy hosing down the blood and everything else on the roof. That was not a danger to, or an environmental threat to anyone, or nobody was going to see, blood and guts anywhere up on the roof. You secure that they could easily secure the roof.
And that was dangerous, using soapy water on a slippery, slopey roof.
Well, look, I heard a podcast by someone, we're living in strange times where nothing's meant to make sense, and it's possible that nothing is meant to make sense to us. Any crisis is going to be used as another smokescreen. I really don't know what to make of it all. I know I will reverse it. Okay, I'll probably lean towards one person, the unfortunate guy who got shot at. If it was the other guy, Biden, I'd be equally as upset, because when we're living in a society where it's acceptable or seem acceptable to shoot anyone, really, for political beliefs or anything else, it's a slippery slope. Okay, people say, well, if we'd eliminated this dictator and that dictator, you can't go around doing that or saying that. From any regard, I would be as horrified if it was the other way around as well. It was horrific to see. You put a text out, and my immediate reaction was, somebody just fired a gun up in the air or something. It's all been overblown. Then I'll put it on video. Wow. This is serious. My immediate reaction was, yes, well, this is I think President Trump is a very lucky man. Very lucky man. And I'll just say that. The guy who got shot behind him is a very unlucky person in the family. And do you know what? That's the thing that goes through my mind. Any of us could be in a similar situation. Any of us. Dignitaries, they run the risk. We know that. Okay, they shouldn't do, but unfortunately they do. Any of us could be behind the line of fire, in front of the line of fire, or anything else. Just doing things innocently. Even being, people say, we was at a rally, and you're entitled to go to a rally. That's democracy. You're entitled to be part of anything that's legal. That is my immediate react. Somebody died who was a bystander in all this as well, who didn't have security around them, went out for a family day out, was probably enjoying themselves up to that moment. Let's just be honest, these rallies are like parties. They're probably very difficult to police. I will admit that. I will throw the authorities or the law enforcement, whomever, a bit of a lifeline here. They are very difficult to police. It sounds like they did try and set security. Yes, the guy apparently, I read somewhere the guy had his actual binoculars on, that he was looking at the security people, the what they call the counter snipers on the roof. And I'm not an expert on this. Again, there's so many different stories coming out.
I heard similar to that was that he was testing his sites. He was testing his site on there was a Secret Service guy actually who took a
Mm.
photo of it
Yeah, but I mean,
just before.
I mean, look, this is just like an industrial inquiry now. An
Yeah,
incident
sure.
happens. There's got to be all the evidence has got to be put together, and a whole thing come out. I work in an industry where on social line now, an incident happens and we do get asked, even us former people who worked in the industry, can you please not speculate because you could
Yeah,
actually,
sure.
yeah. And I just see it now. Something has gone wrong. There's probably one single cause. It could be innocent. There could be something more nefarious about it all.
Yep.
I'm not going to say one way or another, or it could be a combination of the two.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Um,
I'm with you on that.
yeah,
I think, you know, um, like I said, the keyboard warriors and the keyboard detectives are ten a penny,
yeah,
and they can make their own conclusions
mm,
based on something that's taken out of context or badly
yeah,
edited or whatever,
mm,
and it doesn't help matters.
no. So,
It's only when we get everything together, which is what I try to do.
yeah,
These are all the informations from different sources. Bring it
mm,
all together and try and make a bigger picture to
yeah.
see what happened.
Well, all I say is I hope that there's going to be a peaceful election now in the US, um, and we don't have any more serious incidents.
Well,
Um,
on a wider scale, let me just
mm,
bring this out just a
yeah,
little touch before we finish it.
yeah,
I've said a long time ago that Trump had to be careful. He had to look over his
mm,
shoulder
yeah,
because,
yeah,
they've tried smearing him, they've tried the
mm,
lawfare,
mm,
and the only option that they had, if they wanted him out of the picture, was
mm,
to
yeah,
eliminate him. On the other hand, it was either going to have to be Trump or it's going to have to be Biden.
mm,
Now, after the debate with Trump and Biden and
yeah,
the performance of Biden, the Dems have
yeah,
been up in the air and have been trying to. Nancy Pelosi and Schumer have tried
yeah,
to Schiff, that
yeah,
little piece of
yeah, yeah,
right,
shift, yeah,
has told Biden to pull out, and he's adamant that he won't. And the day before yesterday, he said in an interview that I would consider retiring if a doctor said to me that I had had a medical condition. The day
yeah,
afterwards, a doctor said he's got COVID and he's going to have to stay at home.
right.
Could
I
that
mean,
be the trigger of him pulling out of the race? Because
mm,
if the the COVID's either going to get worse,
mm,
which they can do, which the medical people can do that,
yeah,
in which case he's not going to be able to campaign,
mm,
or it's going to be something. Well, I don't know. Depending on it's either one or the other. I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
well,
They're
this,
trying. If I was a really conspiracy
yeah,
nut, I'd
well,
say, well, they didn't do one, but they can do the other. So anyway,
well, I mean, I don't wish, I'll say, so don't wish ill on any candidate. It is a
no,
democracy.
yeah,
Um, and, it's upset. I wouldn't say, well, it is upsetting, it's concerning. And we now, I mean, okay, I think personally, Trump is at the edge of what I consider a good age to run. Biden's over it
yeah.
and different attitudes. I mean, I'll say,
Sure,
uh,
I'm not sure. To be quite honest, I'm not even sure if it's age, because
mm,
it's just a mental agility that Biden's suffering from.
yeah,
Um,
I think you should cut to the chase and Jill should run.
last night I
Yeah,
watched a 91-year-old war veteran
yeah,
give a give a speech, and it was as sharp as a tack.